Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. Alan sighed, running his fingers through the soft locks that had once been his short, boyish cut. It had been weeks since the incident that had changed everything. The memory of that fateful day still haunted him. He had been practicing his baseball swing in the backyard, oblivious to his surroundings. His sister Anna had walked right into the path of his bat, resulting in a nasty concussion and a broken arm. The guilt had been overwhelming, but little did he know that it was only the beginning of his troubles. With Anna unable to fulfill her role as bridesmaid at their older sister's wedding, the family had come up with a desperate solution. Alan would take her place, disguised as a girl. At first, he had laughed it off as a joke, but the seriousness in his parents' eyes told him otherwise.
"It's the only way,"
his mother had insisted, her voice tinged with a mix of desperation and determination. "We can't disappoint your sister on her big day." And so the transformation began. Alan was whisked away to a salon where he endured hours of styling and a permanent wave treatment that left his hair a mass of bouncy curls. The stylist had worked her magic, shaping his eyebrows and applying subtle makeup that accentuated his features in a decidedly feminine way. As he stood before the mirror in the salon, Alan barely recognized himself. The person staring back at him was undeniably pretty, with soft curves and delicate features. It was as if he had stepped into an alternate reality where he had been born a girl. "You look beautiful, sweetie," his mother had cooed, her eyes brimming with tears of joy and relief. Alan had managed a weak smile, unable to shake the feeling of discomfort that settled in his stomach. He knew it was only temporary, a necessary sacrifice for his sister's wedding. But as he walked out of the salon, he couldn't help but notice the appreciative glances thrown his way by passers-by. The wedding itself had been a blur of emotions. Alan, now going by the name Alicia, had played his part flawlessly. He had walked down the aisle in a flowing lavender gown, careful not to trip in the unfamiliar high heels. He had posed for countless photos, his smile growing more strained with each flash of the camera. It was during the reception that things took an unexpected turn. Alan found himself enjoying the attention he received as Alicia. The way people treated him with kindness and respect was a stark contrast to the rough-and-tumble world he was used to as a boy. For the first time in his life, he felt truly seen and appreciated. As the night wore on, Alan danced with groomsmen and chatted with other bridesmaids, slipping deeper into the role of Alicia. It wasn't until the bouquet toss that reality came crashing back. As he reached out to catch the flying flowers, a sudden realization hit him. He had forgotten just for a moment that he wasn't really a girl. The drive home from the wedding venue was silent, tension thick in the air. Alan's parents exchanged worried glances, unsure of how to broach the subject of their son's apparent comfort in his new persona.
"You did wonderfully today, Alan,"
his father finally said, breaking the silence.
"We're proud of you for stepping up like that."
Alan nodded, his throat tight with emotions he couldn't quite name.
"Thanks, Dad,"
he managed to reply, his voice softer than usual. The following Monday, Alan found himself facing a new challenge: school. His parents had insisted that he maintain the appearance of Alicia until Anna's arm healed, citing the need for consistency in case any wedding guests saw him. And so, with a heavy heart and a backpack slung over his shoulder, Alan stepped into the hallways of his high school as Alicia. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Whispers followed him everywhere he went, and he could feel the weight of curious stares boring into his back. Some of his classmates didn't even recognize him, treating him like a new student.
"Hey there, beautiful,"
a familiar voice called out. Alan turned to see Jack, one of the school's notorious bullies, leaning against a locker with a predatory grin. "You must be new here. How about I show you around?" Alan's heart raced as he tried to think of a way out of the situation. He opened his mouth to speak, but the words caught in his throat. Just then, a hand grabbed his arm, pulling him away from Jack. "Back off, creep!" a girl's voice snapped. Alan looked up to see Megan, a classmate he had never spoken to before, glaring at Jack.
She's with me.
Megan led Alan away, her grip firm but reassuring. Once they were out of earshot, she turned to him with a sympathetic smile. You okay? I'm Megan, by the way.
I'm Al.
Alan caught himself, remembering his cover story. Alicia, thank you for helping me. Megan's eyes narrowed slightly, a flicker of recognition passing over her face. Wait a minute. Alan? Is that you? Alan felt his face flush with embarrassment. He nodded, unable to meet Megan's gaze. To his surprise, she didn't laugh or recoil in disgust. Instead, she placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. Hey, it's okay, she said softly. I don't know what's going on, but if you need someone to talk to, I'm here. For the first time since this ordeal began, Alan felt a glimmer of hope. He managed a small smile, grateful for Megan's unexpected kindness. As they walked to class together, Alan found himself opening up, explaining the situation in hushed tones. Megan listened without judgment, her expression a mix of sympathy and admiration. That's really brave of you, she said when he finished, but it must be so hard. How long do you have to keep this up? Alan shrugged, uncertainty clouding his features.
Until Anna's arm heals, I guess, but I don't know. Part of me is starting to wonder if I even want to go back.
The words surprised him as much as they did Megan. He hadn't realized how true they were until he said them out loud. The conflicting emotions he had been suppressing since the wedding came rushing to the surface. As the days passed, Alan found himself settling into life as Alicia. Megan became his constant companion, helping him navigate the complexities of teenage girls' social dynamics. She taught him how to apply makeup, how to walk in heels without stumbling, and how to deflect unwanted attention from boys. But not everyone was as accepting as Megan. A group of girls, led by the school's queen bee, Brittany, seemed to take personal offense to Alicia's presence. They whispered behind her back, spread rumors, and went out of their way to make her feel unwelcome. One day, after a particularly grueling gym class where Alan had struggled to keep up with the girls without revealing his true identity, he found himself cornered in the locker room by Brittany and her posse. "We know what you are," Brittany hissed, her eyes glinting with malice. "You're nothing but a freak in a dress." Alan felt his heart pounding in his chest, fear and anger warring within him. He wanted to lash out, to defend himself, but he knew that would only make things worse. Instead, he straightened his spine, channeling the confidence he had seen in the real Alicia.
"I don't know what you're talking about,"
he said, his voice steady despite his trembling hands.
"But I do know that your insecurity is showing. It's not a good look on you, Brittany."
With that, he pushed past the stunned girls and strode out of the locker room, his head held high. As soon as he was out of sight, he ducked into an empty classroom, his legs giving out as he slumped against the wall. Megan found him there, curled up on the floor, silent tears streaming down his face. Without a word, she sat down beside him, wrapping an arm around his shoulders. They stayed like that until the final bell rang, neither speaking, but drawing comfort from each other's presence. As weeks turned into months, Alan found himself torn between two identities. At home, his parents watched with growing concern as their son seemed to disappear more and more into the persona of Alicia. At school, he had found a sense of belonging he had never experienced before, particularly in his growing friendship with Megan. But the pressure of living a double life was taking its toll. Alan's grades began to slip, and he withdrew from his old friends, unable to relate to them in the same way. The constant fear of being discovered weighed heavily on him, making it difficult to relax or enjoy simple pleasures. It all came to a head one day when Alan made a fateful decision. Tired of the restrictive girl's uniform, he decided to switch clothes with a female classmate who preferred a more masculine style. It seemed like a harmless act of rebellion, a way to reclaim a small part of his old self. But as luck would have it, the principal chose that day to conduct a surprise uniform inspection. Alan was caught out of dress code, and in the ensuing confusion, his secret was revealed to the entire school administration. The fallout was swift and severe. Alan was expelled. His parents called in for an emergency meeting with the school board. The air in the principal's office was thick with tension as Alan sat between his shell-shocked parents, his borrowed clothes hanging awkwardly on his frame.
"This is a serious breach of trust and school policy," the principal intoned, his voice grave. "We cannot allow this kind of deception to go unpunished."
Alan's mother, her face pale with worry, spoke up. "Please, you have to understand. We never meant for it to go this far. It was just supposed to be temporary." But the damage was done. The school board was adamant. Alan could not continue his education there. As they left the office, Alan felt as if his world was crumbling around him. He had lost not only his place at school, but also the identity he had come to embrace. In the car ride home, silence reigned. Alan stared out the window, watching familiar landmarks blur past, feeling as if he was leaving behind more than just a school. His father cleared his throat, breaking the tense quiet.
"We'll figure this out, son,"
he said, his voice gruff with emotion. "We'll find you a new school. Start fresh." Alan nodded numbly, unable to voice the turmoil raging inside him. How could he start fresh when he wasn't even sure who he was anymore? The solution, when it came, was both a relief and a new source of anxiety. Alan's parents managed to secure him a place at a private school in a neighboring town, one known for its progressive policies and accepting atmosphere. The catch? He would have to attend as Alicia. "It's the only way," his mother explained, her eyes pleading for understanding. "Your records at the old school. We can't explain away what happened. But if you go as Alicia, you can have a clean slate." Alan wanted to protest, to insist that he couldn't keep living a lie. But as he looked at his parents' worried faces, he realized that he didn't want to. The thought of returning to his old life, of giving up the person he had become, filled him with a deep sense of loss. And so, with a mix of trepidation and strange excitement, Alan packed his bags and prepared to start his new life as Alicia. The night before his first day at the new school, he stood before the mirror, studying his reflection. The face that looked back at him was neither entirely Alan nor completely Alicia, but a blend of both, a person he was only just beginning to understand. As he smoothed down his skirt and adjusted his hair, Alan took a deep breath. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new friendships, and perhaps a chance to finally be true to himself, whoever that turned out to be. With one last glance at his reflection, he turned off the light and stepped into an uncertain but hopeful future. The first day at his new school dawned bright and clear, a stark contrast to the turmoil in Alan's mind. As he stood at the entrance, now fully embodying Alicia, he felt a strange mix of anxiety and excitement coursing through him. This was his chance for a fresh start, to be the person he had discovered lurking beneath the surface of his old identity. The halls of the new school were a maze of unfamiliar faces and curious glances. Alan, or rather Alicia, clutched her schedule tightly, navigating the crowds with a practiced grace that belied her inner nervousness. As she made her way to her first class, she couldn't help but notice the differences between this school and her old one. Here, there was a palpable sense of acceptance in the air. Students of all types mingled freely, their differences celebrated rather than scrutinized. Alicia felt a weight lift from her shoulders, realizing that here she might truly be able to explore who she was without fear of judgment. Her first class was English literature, and as she settled into a seat near the back, she caught the eye of a girl with vibrant blue hair and a friendly smile. The girl leaned over, extending a hand. "Hey there, I'm Zoe. You must be new here." Alicia shook her hand, surprised by the warmth of the greeting. "Hi, I'm Alicia. Yeah, just started today." Zoe's smile widened. "Well, welcome to Westfield High. Fair warning, Mrs. Hartley can be a bit intense, but her class is actually pretty cool once you get used to her." As if on cue, the teacher swept into the room, her presence immediately commanding attention. Mrs. Hartley was a tall woman with sharp features softened by kind eyes. She began the class by introducing Alicia to everyone, much to her embarrassment. "Class, we have a new student joining us today. Alicia, would you like to tell us a bit about yourself?" Alicia felt her heart race as all eyes turned to her. For a moment, she froze, unsure of what to say. But then, drawing on the confidence she had cultivated over the past months, she stood up, smoothing her skirt with slightly trembling hands. "Hi, everyone," she began, her voice steadier than she felt. "I'm Alicia. I just moved here from Oak Ridge. I love reading, especially science fiction, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know all of you." As she sat back down, Alicia caught Zoe giving her a thumbs up. The rest of the class passed in a blur of introductions to classic literature and lively discussions. Alicia found herself drawn into the conversations, surprised by how easily she could express herself in this new environment. When the bell rang, signaling the end of class, Zoe immediately turned to her. "Hey, what's your next class? Want me to show you around?" Grateful for the offer, Alicia nodded. As they walked through the halls together, Zoe chatted animatedly about the school, pointing out important landmarks and introducing Alicia to various students they passed. "And over there is the art room. Oh, and that's Ryan. He's in the drama club. Hey, Ryan." Zoe waved at a tall boy with wavy brown hair, who smiled and waved back. Alicia felt a flutter in her stomach as Ryan's eyes met hers. It was a feeling she had experienced before, but never quite like this. She quickly looked away, her cheeks warming. The rest of the day passed in a whirlwind of new experiences. By the time the final bell rang, Alicia's head was spinning with information, names, and the exhilarating feeling of possibility. As she walked home, her steps light despite the unfamiliarity of her surroundings, Alicia reflected on the day. For the first time since this whole ordeal began, she felt truly at peace with her decision. Here, in this new school, she had the chance to be whoever she wanted to be, to discover the person she was meant to be all along. The weeks that followed were a period of growth and self-discovery for Alicia. She threw herself into her studies with renewed vigor, finding that her newfound confidence translated into academic success. Her friendship with Zoe blossomed, and soon she found herself part of a tight-knit group of friends who accepted her without question. But as Alicia settled into her new life, she couldn't shake the nagging feeling that she was living on borrowed time. The truth of her past loomed over her like a shadow, threatening to unravel everything she had built. One afternoon, as she sat in the school library working on a history project with Zoe and Ryan, the weight of her secret became almost unbearable. Ryan had been regaling them with stories from his childhood, and Alicia found herself longing to share her own experiences, the real ones, not the fabricated history she had created for Alicia. "Hey, you okay?" Ryan's voice cut through her thoughts. "You look like you're a million miles away." Alicia blinked, realizing she had been staring blankly at her textbook for several minutes. "Oh, yeah, I'm fine. Just thinking." Zoe leaned in, concern etched on her face. "You've seemed a bit off lately. Is everything all right at home?" The genuine care in her friends' voices nearly broke Alicia's resolve. She took a deep breath, feeling tears prick at the corners of her eyes. I need to tell you both something, but not here. Can we go somewhere private?" Exchanging worried glances, Zoe and Ryan nodded. They gathered their things and followed Alicia out of the library and into a secluded corner of the school grounds. As they settled onto a bench beneath an old oak tree, Alicia's heart pounded in her chest. "What I'm about to tell you, it might change the way you see me," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I can't keep lying to you. You've been such good friends to me, and you deserve the truth." And so, with trembling hands and a quavering voice, Alicia told them everything. She spoke of Alan, of the accident with her sister, of the wedding that had started it all. She explained about her expulsion from her old school and the decision to start anew as Alicia. As she spoke, she kept her eyes fixed on the ground, too afraid to see the disgust or betrayal she was sure would be reflected in her friends' faces. When she finally fell silent, the only sound was the rustling of leaves in the gentle breeze. After what felt like an eternity, Zoe's hand reached out, gently tilting Alicia's chin up. To her amazement, there was no anger in Zoe's eyes, only understanding and compassion. "Oh, Alicia," Zoe said softly.
Or do you prefer Alan?
Alicia shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. "No, I think I'm Alicia now. I don't know if I can ever go back to being Alan. I don't know if I want to." Ryan, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, finally spoke up.
"Thank you for trusting us with this,"
he said, his voice thick with emotion.
"It doesn't change how we feel about you, you know. You're still our friend, no matter what name you use or how you dress."
Alicia looked between her two friends, overwhelmed by their acceptance. You're not angry? You don't hate me for lying?" Zoe pulled her into a tight hug. "Of course not. We could never hate you. You're one of us, Alicia. Nothing will change that." As Alicia melted into the embrace, she felt Ryan's hand on her shoulder, a silent affirmation of his support. For the first time since this journey began, she felt truly seen and accepted for who she was. Not Alan pretending to be Alicia, not Alicia hiding Alan, but the person she had become, a blend of both identities. The relief of unburdening herself to her friends marked a turning point for Alicia. With their unwavering support, she found the courage to be more open about her journey, sharing her experiences with trusted teachers and counselors at the school. To her surprise and relief, the school administration was understanding and accommodating, working with her to ensure she felt comfortable and supported. As the months passed, Alicia's confidence grew. She joined the drama club, discovering a passion for performance that she had never known as Alan. On stage, she could be anyone she wanted to be, and the lines between her past and present began to blur in the most liberating way. It was during rehearsals for the school play that Alicia's relationship with Ryan began to shift. They had grown close as friends, but there was an undeniable tension between them, a spark that neither could ignore. One evening, as they ran lines together in the empty auditorium, Ryan stumbled over his words, his eyes locked on Alicia. I'm sorry, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. "I keep getting distracted." Alicia tilted her head, a small smile playing on her lips. "Distracted by what?" Ryan took a deep breath, setting his script aside.
"By you, Alicia. I really like you. And I know your situation is complicated, but I want you to know that I see you for who you are. Not who you were or who you might be, but who you are right now."
Alicia's heart raced, a mix of excitement and fear coursing through her. "Ryan, I like you too. But are you sure? I mean, given my past." Ryan stepped closer, gently taking her hands in his. "I'm sure. You're amazing, Alicia. Brave, kind, talented. I've never met anyone like you. And I'd really like to take you out on a date, if you'll let me." In that moment, looking into Ryan's earnest eyes, Alicia made a decision. She leaned in, closing the distance between them, and pressed her lips to his in a soft, tentative kiss. As they pulled apart, both blushing and smiling, Alicia felt as if another piece of her true self had fallen into place. Their relationship blossomed, bringing with it new joys and challenges. Alicia had to navigate the complexities of dating as a transgender teen, but with Ryan's patience and understanding, they found their way together. Their friends were supportive, with Zoe jokingly claiming credit for bringing them together. As the school year drew to a close, Alicia found herself facing a new dilemma. Her sister Anna's arm had long since healed, and her family had been gently probing about when she planned to return to normal. But the thought of giving up her life as Alicia filled her with dread. One warm evening, as she sat on the porch swing with her parents, Alicia knew it was time to have the conversation she had been avoiding. "Mom, Dad," she began, her voice steady despite her nerves. "I need to talk to you about something important." Her parents exchanged glances, sensing the weight of the moment. Her father nodded encouragingly. "Go ahead, sweetheart. We're listening." Alicia took a deep breath, gathering her courage. "I know this all started as a temporary thing to help out Anna, but it's become so much more than that. Being Alicia, living as a girl, it feels right in a way I can't fully explain. I don't think I can go back to being Alan. I don't want to." She watched as a range of emotions played across her parents' faces. Surprise, confusion, concern. Her mother was the first to speak, her voice gentle. "Are you saying you want to transition? To live as a woman permanently?" Alicia nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "Yes, I know it's a lot to take in, and I know it might be hard for you to understand, but this is who I am, who I've always been, I think, even if I didn't realize it before." Her father leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "Alicia, honey, are you sure about this? It's a big decision with a lot of implications for your future." "I'm sure, Dad," Alicia said, her voice stronger now. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life. I know it won't be easy, but I need to be true to myself, and I hope you can support me in this." There was a moment of tense silence, broken only by the gentle creaking of the porch swing. Then, to Alicia's surprise and relief, her mother reached out and pulled her into a tight embrace. "Oh, my darling," she murmured, her voice thick with emotion. "Of course we support you. We love you no matter what. If this is what you need to be happy, then we're here for you, every step of the way." Her father joined the hug, his strong arms encircling both of them. "Your mother's right," he said gruffly, trying to hide the quaver in his voice. "It might take some getting used to, but you're our child. We'll figure this out." As Alicia sat there, enveloped in the warmth of her parents' love and acceptance, she felt a profound sense of peace wash over her. The journey ahead would not be easy. There would be legal hurdles, medical decisions, and undoubtedly some difficult conversations with extended family and old friends. But in that moment, surrounded by love and finally able to be her true self, Alicia knew that she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink. As darkness fell, Alicia looked up at the stars beginning to twinkle in the twilight. She thought about the long and winding path that had led her to this moment. The accident, the wedding, the struggles and triumphs at her new school, the friends who had become family, and the love she had found along the way. What had started as a temporary solution, a desperate attempt to salvage a family celebration, had become the catalyst for Alicia's true self to emerge. As she sat there with her parents, planning for a future she had never imagined but now couldn't wait to embrace, Alicia felt a profound sense of gratitude for the twist of fate that had set her on this path. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more wonderful content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.